I've got a doozy for you tonight. Boy, you're going to enjoy this one. We even got started early tonight. I'm going to talk to James Finch. He's with me and ask him. I don't think we really spoke to him after he was acquitted. He's one of the only guys you'll know who had to sit in front of a jury of his peers in a federal trial where they have a 98 conviction rate per count twice. And neither jury would convict him because the charges were absurd, absolutely ridiculous. And I don't want to rehash all of it. Well, I'll ask James what how things are going after that. But he has been fired up. If you saw my last show on Lynn Haven, he went up and spoke to the council. And I'll tell you what, city manager Vickie Gainer, the FBI witness, looked like she saw a ghost. It was unbelievable. Now we'll have James here for ourselves. And I'll even look at your comments. And if you have questions, we'll look at them and see if we can answer them. But before we get started, I want to invite you to subscribe to my Substack page. What is Substack? Well, it's a weekly email where you never miss a show and you never miss a Facebook post on my coverage of local government. And you don't even need Facebook to be able to view it. You just put in your email and it's free. Bernie.substack.com. But for those of you who want to pay for a paid membership, $8 a month or $80 a year, now you have a good reason. You'll get behind the scenes video at least once a week. It was 2 the first week, and this is what they look like. Get a paid subscription at bernie.substack.com, and now you will get behind the scene videos emailed to your inbox, and you're liable to see just about anything. Whoa! Get out! Get out! Don't get out, keep that. What's going on? So I've got less than 2 days to get it all together. I'm nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Nighttime and hot. Another red light. Yellow flies. Okay, he's dead.
Since might like council thing.
Yes, that's what they are. They're like the great whites of the insect world.
Right on my arm.
Right on my arm, my mom says. Bernie.substack.com. It just takes a moment. That's where to go. Let's bring in James. James Finch, thank you so much for being with us. And it's been a while since we talked. After the trial, actually. Not guilty, James. Within an hour, the jury said, "What are you talking about? How you doing?"
I'm doing fine. It was just 3 years getting there, from
and a few dollars.
Yeah, well, I loaned them $5.2 million, and it cost me $4.8 million to defend myself.
Yeah, and we'll get into that. What James is talking about is the biggest problem that Lynn Haven had in 2015 was that big, giant, miles long. They call it the 17th Street ditch, but it was really it was 15 feet deep. There were snakes and alligators and people crashing and dying in this ditch. And the city didn't have the money to fix it, they said. So they just wanted to do it maybe mile by mile, feet by feet, really, until James Finch said, "Let's just get it done." He said, "We can't afford to get it done, James." But there was a city manager there at the time, Joel Schubert, who said, "I agree with James. We need to get it done. And where are we going to find the money?" And you said, "I'll loan you the money. And don't pay me till the project's done." Unbelievable. And for that, they tried to put you in prison for the rest of your life.
Yeah, tried to, but it didn't work out for them.
James, talk to us a little bit about what it was like sitting there with the jury. I mean, the only witness first of all, this is crazy. You were what you were in there for. They charged you with bribery, but they had no evidence of bribery. So they charged you with a section, believe it or not, federal government, section 666 bribery charge, which doesn't need quid pro quo, doesn't need evidence. All it needs is a wink and a nod. And so 7 weeks ago, the Supreme Court said you can't do that anymore in the United States. So they couldn't even have had charged you or Margot for that this time. But the only evidence they had, the only witness they had was Michael White, the city manager, and he was in shackles, James. They brought him out of prison, and the jury didn't believe him at all. But what was it like sitting there for that almost an hour?
Well, before that, it was even before that. Bernie went through the grand jury process, and most people don't understand. You can't take a lawyer to the grand jury, and they only hear one side, period. And if you got an attorney, I asked my attorney, I said, "Do you think we need to go to the grand jury?" And he said, "No." He said, "Don't go to the grand jury." He says, they're not going to listen to you, and you cannot take a lawyer. And so you go in there, there's not a judge in there, there's 3 or 4 prosecutors. You have a lead prosecutor that runs the show. And so he says, "You're crazy to go in there." So I agreed, and I wouldn't go to the grand jury. So they indicted me 3 times, and they kept changing it. And I would show them where they were wrong, and they'd change it some more. And finally, one of the indictments come out that I had flown Margot Anderson on my plane to Key West and entertained her the first week of November 2018. Entertained her on my yacht. Well, we go to the judge and say, "Judge, don't have a plane. It's in the shop being painted. Don't have a boat. First week of November, I sold it the prior June, 4 months before. So I don't have a boat. Somebody is at the grand jury lying." So, the judge, he knows his secret and whole deal. And he says, "Listen," he says, "I can't understand the United States government, with all the resources they've got, that they resort to lying." So we asked him to throw it out. And he told me he was within a hair of throwing it out. I thought he should have been within a mile of throwing it out, And
Absolutely.
So he says, "Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to redact the names, because everything in the grand jury is secret." He said, "We're going to redact the names, and I'm going to turn the transcript over to the defense. I'm going to give you the transcript, and then I'm going to give you all the evidence within 48 hours when they put it in the basket."
And James, let's let everybody know that just never happens. That Judge Walker has never done that, and less than 1% of all defendants in a federal case ever get to see what the prosecutors and the FBI told 20 anonymous people called the grand jury.
Well, that's true, but you know what? You know who was lying? They wasn't, but one person testified in all the corruption grand juries.
Yeah.
Four indictments they did. The last time they indicted me, they went to Pensacola and indicted me. And,
James, I want everybody to understand this, though. You were, what did they say? They said you were unavailable, or you were out of pocket. The prosecutors said James Finch was out of pocket in October of 2018 when the hurricane hit.
I was in a coma.
The whole month. I mean, you didn't get out till what, the 29th of October?
30th.
30th of October. And so, which is incredible. I mean, so you're out, and then the next week they say that you're floating around the Keys with Margot Anderson, the mayor, who doesn't care about the people, on a yacht. But here's the crazy thing, James. First of all, you didn't have a yacht. That never happened. The crazy thing is, it was them who were partying in the condos over the bridge. You had the chief of police, Ricky Ramie, Michael White, his bro buddy. They were having naked pool parties in the condos. You got the text messages. That's how you found out.
That's right.
They were the ones partying, while Margot Anderson, the mayor, was driving around in a golf cart giving out waters.
And the FBI was lying, and the prosecutor was lying. So I really pissed them off when I got the evidence from everybody in the state was sending me stuff about Stephen Koontz, the head prosecutor.
Yeah.
30 years prior to that, he had taken over a state case on a kidnap case, the Eisenberg case. You can look it up. And they accused the Eisenbergs of killing their small child.
Yeah. Did I lose you, James?
No, killing their small child.
James frozen up on the computer.
And but
James, if you can hear me,
I can.
Oh, there you are. We got you back. You're back. You might have to move that little thing every now and then. I don't know, but we got you back. So you said you got the evidence back. People were calling you about Stephen Koontz, the lead prosecutor, and you found out that he had a horrific past.
Yes, I tell you what, he had charged these people with killing their kid, and they found out that he was lying about it.
The Eisenbergs.
the Eisenbergs. So when he got the judge to give him a wiretap on their house for 90 days. And then I think he forged the judge's name a few times and got more days and stacked the tapes up, goes to the grand jury and said, we got them. They killed a baby in the shed. And he said it must have been the cocaine. Well, they indicted him. And so the defense said, we would like to see the tapes. So they had to give them all the tapes. And they were numerous, 40, 50, 100, whatever. They go through all the tapes and they go back to the judge. Judge, we can't find it. So the judge appoints a committee. They go through it. They go back to the judge and said, Judge, we cannot find it. So the judge calls the main justice in Washington, D.C. They fly down. They give the Eisenbergs $2 million worth of attorney fees. They demote Stephen Koontz to
the prosecutor against you, the one standing up there with Sheriff Ford saying they're going to get all the corruption in Bay County. And they
didn't fire him. They should have put him in jail and fired him, at least fired him.
Yeah.
But they demoted him to the student loans. So he worked in the head prosecutor down there, head U.S. attorney says, you'll never prosecute another case in the Middle District of Florida. So he leaves after 2 or 3 years of student loans, and he goes over to Volusia County in the state system. And so a little while, he finds out the judges and his friends are getting some porn sent to the courthouse over there. And so he arrests them all. Embarrassed the judge so bad. He was the big guy in the community and all that, and his family, and embarrassed him so bad, he sticks a gun in his mouth and kills himself. So Koontz, he weasels out of there and goes to his buddies in northern Florida. They hire him in the Northern District as a prosecutor. And then they appoint him as the head of the corruption of the hurricane corruption. So he's going around now just indicting everybody.
Well, everybody who didn't do it.
Yeah. And he was, but so when I take this is what really upset me. I take all this stuff and get it to Tommy Ford, and I said, Tommy, look at this guy. You know, he accuses man and woman of killing their child. And he did all this. He still got his job. Now he's in all this. Now he's saying that I got Margot on a boat, that I don't even own a boat. And so that's what got me all the stuff. And they found out that they two were lying. The FBI agent and him were lying to the grand jury. And you know what? They didn't put their ass in jail.
I was there, James. I was there in the courtroom reporting along with the Beacon of Bay County. Make sure you follow the Beacon of Bay County on Facebook. They were there as well. And we watched as the prosecutors told the judge, well, Your Honor, we didn't lie exactly. We just got the facts wrong. It was a mistake. And your defense attorney said, this is so egregious that it must be thrown out according to case law. And the judge said, well, it's a close call. Again, a hair away.
That's right.
Just an inch away. And they agreed that there is no obligation for the prosecutors to tell the truth and get the facts right in a grand jury. And nobody knows about it because less than 1% of the people ever see the grand jury transcripts. And it was so bad with you that the judge said, go ahead and write it again. James, they wrote it again, and the judge still didn't accept it, right, and called them reckless and unprofessional, and said, again, I am about to throw this out, James, and didn't throw it out. They got another crack at you.
Yes. Well, I pissed them off pretty good. But I tell you what, they pissed me off pretty good too. And but I went through this stuff, and I went, found out all that. So now they changed the trial. So they, on this 666 statute, there's 2 bribery charges, and with the feds, they got 666 when it's a government worker and, whatever in there. And so they can say gratuities, bribery, or whatever. So then they say, well, he gave Margot a motorhome. No, I sold her husband a motorhome. They said, okay, we went to the banks and he didn't have enough money in his account to pay him for the motorhome. It's a $70,000 motorhome that I sold to Lee that worked with me for 30 years. And I had bought the motorhome and flipped it to him. And so anyway,
just let everybody know the FBI and the feds, the prosecutors, got that wrong, and they had to return the motorhome. So if you don't believe it, the Mayor Anderson, she is the mayor, but Margot Anderson and her husband Lee, they've got the motorhome back. They had to bring it back, James. But the WMAB still videos the loop of them taking it away.
Hey, they had to bring it back. The reason they had to bring it back is they went back and said, we went to all their checked all the banks. And then Lee comes to me, and I was helping him with his, attorney and stuff like that. Lee come to me and said, listen, they didn't check my damn bank. I'm a disabled veteran in the Navy, and I do my business with the Naval Credit Union. So we got that and showed it to him, and the judge made them give it back. So then that was the gratuity part, was this deal. So when they throw it to the jury, they said he bribed her, taking him to the boat. He got this gratuity. So, and everybody says, well, why did they wait to do this so long? Well, the Constitution was written 250 years ago. And so you had free states and you had slave states. So you had to send there was 11 districts. In those districts, they could charge you for it in the 5th district. And then the 11th districts never took it to the Supreme Court. So you get sent to jail in the 5th district or 11th district. So the 11th district took it up. And when they was deciding on Trump's immunity and all that in June, they took up the 666 in the 11th district. And they said, hey, no more of that. A bribery, the definition of a bribery is this for that, something for something.
Quid pro quo. And not only that, it has to take place within a certain time frame, and they have to have something. What is it, James? Evidence.
Yes. Yeah, evidence. That helps sometimes.
Yeah.
And but you can't imagine how many people they convict by just leveraging them. They
and they can't do it anymore. The Supreme James, I mean, that's the crazy thing too. I've talked to Mayor Anderson about this. She says the last charge on me and James was a Section 666 bribery, which doesn't require evidence, just a wink and a nod. That was the last thing they had on both of us. And if it were today, the federal government cannot bring that bullshit charge against anybody because the Supreme Court wiped it out.
The last 3 days before the second trial with me, they did everything they could do to get me to plead to something. They wanted they didn't want to go to trial. Now they said I bribed Commissioner Barnes. I looked on the jury list, on the witness list, and they wasn't even calling Barnes to testify.
That's so crazy.
And that's who I was supposed to have bribed. But they had leveraged him to pleading guilty to a false statement to a bank. Nothing to do with the corruption in Lynn Haven, because the loan that I loaned him, he didn't tell them about it. And so they said he lied to a federal institute. And so if he would plead to that, they would drop all of his other charges, and they was going to give him a sweetheart deal. And they were trying to get him the whole time to say that I bribed him. And let me tell you something. If Commissioner Barnes had have said, yeah, I believe he did, they would have kissed his ass woodpecker style. They would have done everything. But the man got up there. I was more surprised than they were.
I was in the courtroom that day too. It was an evidentiary hearing, and you talked to your lawyer. You said we got to know what Barnes is going to say in the actual trial, and they brought him up there. And James, that was incredible. He showed more integrity than just about anybody I've seen.
How about Ricky Ramie should take a lesson from him? This guy stood up there and told the truth when a lie would have done him a lot better.
That's right.
Let me tell you something. I went through these trials, and if you lying for the government, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I saw it many, many times.
We caught the FBI lying. We caught the major lying. We caught Vickie Gainer lying. Everybody lying.
Ricky Ramie, the sheriff's office. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're all lying, and I'm sitting there, and then I said,
But the point is, Antonius Barnes goes up there, and all he has to do is agree, and they're going to treat him. He's going to get. They're not going to do much else. That's all they wanted him to do.
Hey,
And he went to prison telling the truth.
They sent him to prison for 45 days. You know why they wanted to put him up behind the picture saying the federal penitentiary.
Yeah.
Same thing they did to Margot. 30 days Margot in prison.
James, I think about Antonius Barnes a lot. I do not know him. I said hi to him before. But I would like to know him, actually. He's my age, and after watching him go through that, I would like to meet him. But here's the thing. When he goes up there and he does that, and he says, no, James didn't bribe me, and they push Antonius Barnes. What's crazy is there was evidence. There was the only videotaped 302 FBI memo was an hour-long conversation between the special agent and Antonius Barnes. It's the only piece of evidence recorded. And when it was over, what did the special agent tell Antonius Barnes? That he believes him?
Yes, says, Mr. Barnes, I'm glad you come in today. I really appreciate you coming by, and I think you've been more than honest to us. And Barnes said, well, if I can do anything else, please let me know. But he said, what else do you need? What do you think they're going to do? And they said, well, we're going to give this to the proper authorities. If they need anything, they'll get back with you. So anyway, he leaves there, telling him it's honest. And I knew that. When they tried to get me to plead guilty, I knew that video was there. You know, if you want to see it. But Barnes got up there in the evidentiary hearing, he says, I thought I made it clear to the government James Finch didn't bribe me. And oh, hell, you know, they went all through that. So
they forged his statement of facts. They added some stuff in. But James, here's another thing. What really got me is during your trial, another special agent goes up on the witness stand, and they asked about Antonius Barnes. And your defense attorney said, this is amazing. Did Antonius Barnes, Commissioner Barnes, what law required him to list that unsecured loan? And they couldn't name a law. They convicted Antonius Barnes and sent him to prison when he didn't even have to list that unsecured loan.
Well, how they convicted him is they leveraged him, says, hey, you plead guilty or we going to charge you with all this other stuff. Or, you know, whatever. Just like Margot. Margot had 64 charges. They dropped them all and said, if you'll plead guilty to a false statement. And she was crying and she asked me what I thought. And I said, Margot, you do whatever you want to do. I'm not going to tell you not to do anything or do anything. I said, I've been with you the whole time, but let me tell you what they're going to do to you. They're going to get all the rest of these guys, Mickey White, Michael White, the lawyer, Adam Albritton, Chris Forehand, all these people lined up, and they going to get up there, and more they tell about you, the least they going to get, or the better deal they going to get. So Mickey will get up there and says, I stole every damn thing I could from Lynn Haven, and I'd still be stealing if they hadn't put me in jail. But if she says that she didn't know me, she's a bigger liar than I am a thief. So there's going to be 6 of them come up there. And I said, they got the jury there. And you're not going to be able to say anything. So now they're going to give you 6 months probation. No, a 0 to 6 months probation and let the judge decide. Well,
and drop all 64 charges, all 64. All she has to do is say, okay, I met Mickey in October and not December. That was her crime, they said. And I still don't believe it's whatever.
Yeah, she said, when did you meet him? Says, I think in November or December. Well, they found a video of a commission meeting in late October at Mosley High School. And Michael White introduces Mickey and says, Mickey's going to be a contractor to help me out a little bit around here with miscellaneous stuff. Because we've got these national haulers. We got 3 of them hired,
Ashbridge, Crowder Gulf, and Cirrus.
That's true. Okay. They're the big guys, right? Mickey's got a pickup truck, a couple Mexicans, helpers.
Yeah.
They write him $4.9 million worth of checks, all in a few months. And that's what I called Vickie Gainer out on. I called them all out on the city about it. 4.9 million. He don't even have a contractor's license. He don't have nothing. And y'all write him $4.9 million.
So I'm going to show everybody this because this is so important. If people don't believe you, I'm going to tell everybody, and I'm going to show them something right now. So it was James had been in a coma all of October. He gets back in November. About 6 months after the hurricane, he discovers that ECS, which was a new company not qualified to build stuff like bathrooms at the park at inflated prices, was owned by Mickey White, Derwin White, the late Derwin White's nephew. So James finds out that they're building stuff at inflated prices. Mayor Anderson goes and finds out that, damn, they've got $5 million paid to him. And quick story, you guys decide we're going to blow the whistle. And she goes to Sheriff Ford on April Fool's Day, 2019. Now, there's more to the story because Derwin White's personal attorney was also the attorney for the city of Lynn Haven, Adam Albritton. Look at this. This is from a sealed FBI search warrant. I want to show you something. So Yora Fayette is the FBI agent writing this. And you can see that it's on, it says WMAB underneath because when it was leaked, the news got a hold of it, including me. But I want to show you this. So the FBI tells Judge Magistrate, the investigation, this is in 2021, has revealed that Ashbridge, National Hauler, did partner with Derwin White and GAC, using GAC as a subcontractor for debris management, reduction, and disposal. Look at this. It goes on and it says this. Are you ready for this?
I am.
The opposition, Crowder Gulf, had nothing to do with Derwin White. Derwin White made a deal, says the FBI to the judge, with the big company Ashbridge. You ever heard of Ashbridge? Now, they goes on, and the competitor, Crowder Gulf, said this. He had worked cleanup operations following Hurricane Sandy in New Jersey, Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, and a number of other major disasters over the years. And the FBI tells the judge Bay County was more corrupt than any of these places. Now, James, I don't see them saying it was you and Margot. They're saying it was Ashbridge and GAC contractors. But they're going after you and Margot.
Yeah. Well,
that's unbelievable.
Hey, there's more to it than just this.
Oh, I know.
Unbelievable. You went through the whole deal.
James, let me show everybody what Margot said about this, and I want to get you to comment on it. But before I do that, let me just thank a sponsor real quick.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
All right, James, this is a short clip from the live interview with Margot Anderson not too long ago. You were in the audience. Let's listen to what she says. The difference between how Lynn Haven was dealing with hurricane debris pickup after Hurricane Michael under the so-called leadership of Michael White and Vickie Gainer and them, and how you guys did it after Hurricane Opal. Listen to what she says here. I'm sorry. Here we go.
If you were here during Hurricane Opal, Mr. Finch was in charge of cleanup after Hurricane Opal, and the town was cleaned up pretty quick. We had flooding and all this. And the way he did it is he did it street by street. And so people saw the streets get cleaned up. They saw things disappear. The way they were cleaning up in Lynn Haven, and I think probably everywhere across the county, is, if you don't know this, debris is measured by cubic yards. And so these trucks were going around all the streets and picking up the lightest materials, because they'd fill the truck up with just the branches and then they would leave everything else behind. So no one was seeing any progress. It was just this light stuff would go away and all these huge logs and all this debris stayed in the streets. So every time we had a meeting, when they would call on me to speak, and my speaking was about, this is how many meals we served today, this is how many supplies we gave out, and then I'd get to the point, I think we need to go to street cleanup, because when James Finch cleaned up Lynn Haven, he did it street by street and people could see it done, and it got done. Well, that was used against me later, that I was trying to push James Finch to do the cleanup in Lynn Haven. All I was doing was, we need to do it street by street. And Michael White and the others were, I was the woman. I didn't know about, anything that I was doing. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you this. I drove through the country club. I watched, and I'm not trying to say the country club because it's the nicest neighborhood or anything like that. It was on 9th Street, and I was getting all these calls from the country club that nothing was being cleaned up out there. They weren't seeing anything. And so I drove out there to see. And on the day I drove out, there was a house burning to the ground. And I was petrified that there might be people in it. My phone wouldn't work to call for help. And so I was standing out there on top of this scooter I was riding and screaming that there's a fire and making as much noise as I could with the horns. And eventually I could see that their fire trucks had seen it and they were coming. But I looked, and that
James, let's just get to the part here about the difference between the way you did it and the way it happened after Hurricane Michael. Will you explain how that went down?
To do the cleanup for the county, and in Lynn Haven, and it was doing it. So I was just, start one truck and one crew on Ohio Avenue is the center of town, one on Florida, and then one on Pennsylvania, and then go to the outside, and each one of them every day go down through there. And so we got it cleaned up, and you could see it every day what got cleaned up. Well, what I did when I did it by the ton. So I was the only one that said, hey, let's do this by a ton. So we put a set of scales in up there at the landfills. And so I didn't care how much they left off or whatever. When it went through there, you didn't have 20 or 30 people riding around watching them, writing down. They come in with a truck that says 100 yards on it. They throw a bunch of limbs in it, and then they get charged for 100. They get paid for 100 yards, and they go dump 5 or 6 yards.
Yeah, and look, you were weighing it. A scale is not going to lie, and you don't need a whole bunch of people. Whereas this way, they had a company called Tetra Tech that was measuring fake measurements, not caring how much you really took.
That's right. They had Tetra Tech doing that, going around, and then they had Tetra Tech was also doing the other part. The city hired them to do the administrative part for the city, to turn in the invoices and all.
Yeah, we can hear you, James. I'm just putting this on the screen while you talk so that people can sort of get an idea of it in their head.
Right. It's Michael White, city manager, Vickie, Chris Forehand. He was working for Panhandle, and then he went to work for Tetra Tech. And Tetra Tech moved into his office. He had them there, and then he kind of took over and put his people on their payroll.
So Forehand was a pan. It created
Do what?
PEDS right after the hurricane. So he's involved in the pickup, and he's a senior manager with Tetra Tech, a national company that comes into his office, and they're counting the length of the debris.
He's counting the loads and signing off on the loads, and he's a subcontractor to them, and he's doing it. The city's paying him to do it, and then he's getting paid by Tetra Tech as a subcontractor. And then he's getting paid by all the other guys. He would get a check from everybody.
It's unbelievable. And he got immunity from the feds, James.
He got immunity for that. That's right. But it's not over for him. I promise you, it's not over.
And the reason you're saying this is because it's been reported in the news, and I know more that are coming. There are lots of civil lawsuits, and discovery may reveal what the law enforcement and prosecutors wanted to cover up.
This is exactly what's going to happen.
I believe it.
It's
So who do you think legally in a civil case, who damaged you and injured your company, Phoenix Construction, and you the most? In what way?
Vickie Gainer and Chris Forehand. And Michael White was leading the deal, and then
But he was brought in there by Chris Forehand, the powerful contractor that owns Panhandle Engineering.
Yes, yes, that's exactly right. Well, if you look at that 302 from
The FBI memos.
Adam Albritton, when he goes outside, Chris Forehand comes into the meeting. They're going to hire an administrator to take care of the FEMA money. They had hired Tetra Tech to do the count and follow the trucks and keep a tally on how many truckloads and how many yards and all that. And Chris was doing that with them. They were working out of his office. So now they want to put in for the administrative role with the city to get the contract to administrate all the money that the city gets in through FEMA, and they represent the city, and they do all the work, accounting work to get Lynn Haven paid. So Michael White and Jay Moody, the outside accountant, had decided that they had someone that they would like to have besides Tetra Tech. They're having a meeting. They just had a vote on it. Vickie Gainer, a couple more, they all voted on it. And so Chris comes in and said, "Whoa, wait a minute." He said, "Michael, how about getting up?" And he calls him outside. And this is in the 302 on Albritton. Albritton goes by there and he says, "I hear Forehand say, 'Michael, I got you this damn job and I'm going to get you a raise, but you going back in there and changing that and you hiring me because you hiring Tetra Tech because that's who I'm working with.'" So he goes back in there after they voted, they changed their vote, and they hired Tetra Tech.
Yep. There it is. So, and they also, after that, James, even though, look what I have. This, James, shows all the jobs that you did. Look at this thing. You talk about research. And and it shows every job you ever won, you bid for, and you were the low bidder and you won. And like most of your jobs, you were under budget and under time, and it was quality. And here's the kicker for people that think maybe Margo Anderson and Commissioner Antonius Barnes were bribed by you. Out of all of these, and I don't remember how many you won over the years, but every single one of the votes were unanimous. There was never a time anybody on the commission voted against you because you had the lowest bid. You were local. You didn't have to move big machinery from Miami. It was right here. You did the best work. So it wasn't as though Margo was the tiebreaker or Commissioner Barnes was the tiebreaker. As a matter of fact, Mayor Anderson asked the lawyer, "Should I recuse myself since we're friends?" And the lawyer said, "You can't. By law, you have to vote."
That's right.
And it was already 4-0 by the time it got to her, James.
Well, I mean, you got to disclose if you got a partnership or whatever, then, but if you don't have any partnership or own any of my company or whatever, you have to vote on it. And so they said I'd bribe Barnes. So I went back and got every vote for 23 years he was there. There was 62 items. There was 290 votes cast. 290 for me, 0 against me. So what I need to bribe Barnes for?
Certainty, James, certainty. That's what the prosecutor told the jury. Certainty.
You've got to have 3. So I had 4. And when I got, if you look on there, it's third or fourth one down. It's August the 25th, 2015.
Yeah.
2015 is when they took my proposal to fix the 17th Street ditch.
Yeah.
Who does it show that's absent for the vote?
Antonius Barnes, the guy you supposedly bribed. This is what's crazy. Okay, so you talk about no good deed goes unpunished. Biggest problem in Lynn Haven 2015, this gigantic ditch, which is 15 feet, alligators and snakes, people crashing and dying in this for miles, this problem. And you decide, look, I'll fix it. City says, we don't have the money. You say, I'll loan you the damn money. They had, James, they hired engineers and consultants, and they said it's going to take $7.5 million to fix this. You walk in there and you say, bullshit. I can do it for $5.2 million. It only takes you $4.4 million. And one guy in the audience was concerned you might, raise the price on him. And you said, I'll tell you what, don't pay me any of it till I get it done. Then you'll know the price. So there's 800 grand left over.
That's right.
So they couldn't stand that, James. They wanted that too. So they come to you and they say, James, that 800 grand that's left over, can we borrow that too? And you said, yeah, what do you need? Well, we need to fix some storm drainage in an area that Vickie Gainer was going to buy a house. You said, yeah, I'll loan you that too at 2.5%. When the going rate was 6.5%. I'm going to show everybody what this looked like. They said Margot snuck you the deal, but James, let's take a look at what actually happened. This is the meeting from 2015. There's 2 of them, and I'm going to just show them this way. They're not very long. Watch what actually happened. Why did Sheriff Tommy Ford and the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office, why do they continue to press this? Oh, sorry, I pushed the wrong button. Obvious lie. You just heard City Manager Joel Schubert recommend 30 years. But at the press conference in August of 2021, they said that she extended that. Margot Anderson, Mayor Anderson, extended it 30 years so James Finch could make another $1 million or two off the city. This is insane, right?
So, I mean, that leaves our options open.
Well, including that in, given that information, because I was thinking about paying it off early as well. So,
is there a second to Commissioner Barnes's motion?
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or further questions from the board regarding this?
Yes, Mayor, I do.
Commissioner Friend?
Mr. Schubert, if you would then just clarify for me then, because we got we're doing the additional 650. We have a physical impact of 668. We're going to finance it, tap it to what we've already financed. We're going to extend it to 30, which is going to keep the debt the same.
From the Bank of James.
The change order, did I miss something there? Are we going to add to the 668?
The change order would be the 668 to the original contract on the east side.
That is the change order. Then that's what I missed. I apologize.
35.
Okay. Great. Which includes the engineering.
No, that's
okay.
Yeah, and
I missed that somewhere.
That should actually be 668 as far as the change order and 35,000 in an additional task order for the engineering.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a point where
He was actually, he was asking for the engineer's opinion, so.
I thought that clip was a little more clear. I'll have to show it later. I don't want to waste too much time on that. But basically that was, they thanked him for the money. It was a 5-0 vote, but this clip is queued up. Watch this. This is regarding the same issue. All right. That's enough. James, we just showed that it was recommended by the city. It was recommended by the city attorney, by the staff. Everybody thanked you for it. It was your own money. I mean, there's no question about this.
This was the west side. When they awarded me the deal, they said, we'll do it in increments. So we did the east side, and then they prorated the other side of 668. $668,000. So that was a change order. So Barnes was in on that vote, but Barnes was not in on the vote when they made the deal to do the ditch.
I get what you're saying.
Yes. And so,
but I mean, what they accused you of, though, is that Margot snuck this through everybody, and you got all this money, and you got extra millions of dollars over. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely crazy. And
the
everybody
FBI
knows
said that the deal was for 20 years on the financing. The deal was for 30 years. It always was. And so when they was going to make it out in 20 years, I said, Joel, this is going to be 20 years or 30 years. He said, no, it's going to be 30 years. And so the FBI says, well, Margot made it 30 years, which gives him $1 million more of interest. I'm 70 years old at the time, and I'm financing it 30 years. The damn $1 million is not going to make any difference to me because I'm not going to get it. But the deal was, it was all a lie.
It was all a lie. And it easy to see. I mean, this is Twilight Zone stuff, really. James, let's talk about something else. You discovered this, though, as you were getting back on your feet 6 months after the hurricane. You were starting to feel healthy. You were driving around, and you saw the bathroom at one of the parks, and you had just been contracted to build bathrooms. So you figured, let me find out who built that, and maybe I'll hire him. And then it was Mickey White, and it was inflated prices, and you couldn't believe it. That's how we found out about this whole thing. But tell everybody, because people love the bathroom at Porter Park. Miss Sarah Moon she wants all park bathrooms to be like that bathroom. Explain how you built the bathroom versus how Mickey White built the bathroom.
Well, they got a grant on this BP grant on the oil spill. They give Lynn Haven a $450,000 grant, and I bid the deal to put a building up, do a little seawall work, and one of the items was build a new bathroom. Well, my bid item to build that bathroom was $56,000. So I'm looking at the bathroom, and I says, man, the plans here is too small. It's not air conditioned. It's got a fan in it, but all I said, all it's going to be is flies and whatever. So I built the bathrooms, and I took $47,000 out of my pocket, and I air conditioned the bathrooms. I put tile in them, and I put partitions in them, and I added toilets and stuff in the women's bathroom. So I paid for that out of my pocket and donated that to the city of Lynn Haven. So even with that, I'm at about $105,000 with a central air conditioning and everything. And I go by there, and I asked Margot, I said, who's building that bathroom? And she said, well, let me find out. And she comes back, and it's Mickey White. Well, I knew Mickey. Mickey didn't have a contractor's license. She said, we paid him $180,000, and he's got a bill in here for 90 more. And I like to have passed out. She says, and this is what else he's been paid. And she shows me $4.9 million in checks that they had written him within 3 or 4 months, $527,000 to clean up the cemetery. Well, there's no trees in the cemetery. I thought maybe he was changing out the vaults or something out there. So I told Margot, I said, you go see Jay Moody, the outside accountant. He'll tell you the truth, and see who paid this money.
Yeah, and this is all right around April 1st, 2019, when you two blew the whistle.
Yes, I sent Margot. I said, go down there and see the sheriff. So I called Derwin to my office, and she was sitting in there. I called Derwin. I said, Derwin, what in the hell is this? He said, man, that's a lot of money, ain't it? I said, you ain't wrong. It's a lot of money. I said, but she's going to see the sheriff. And he said, no, don't let him wake up himself. So let Tommy wake. He's, don't bother him. He's probably still asleep. I said, well, she's going to see him. And so she went to see Tommy, turned that over to him.
Sheriff
and
Ford.
got started. She was a whistleblower.
Yes.
And then they decided she wasn't going to be the whistleblower. They changed everything around because they wanted to indict Margot. They were going to get the mayor. They got a city attorney. They got the mayor. They got me, the guy with the airplane and the boat.
That didn't have the airplane in the boat.
Yeah, they got me, and but you know they had a hard time with me, and so when I knew that they were going to arrest me. They indicted Margot in August of 2020.
Yeah.
They indicted me, and I kept reading what all I was doing in this paperwork we were getting, and I was the ringleader. And they said, James is running a show from the hospital over there. All the contractors going over there and seeing him in the hospital. Well, most of them come over there to make sure I was asleep.
This was again all the way up until October 30th, 20 days after the hurricane. You didn't leave the hospital, and you were very weak when you left the hospital.
Hey, when I left, I didn't even know where I was. When I come home on October the 30th, that's the day they told me that there was a hurricane. They wouldn't let me know that there was a hurricane hit.
I heard about this, James. I heard that they didn't want to even tell you because you were feeble, and you started asking where the hell the trees are and what happened around here, and they had to tell you.
From about Bluntstown coming in, and they started telling me about it.
This is something that I think is fascinating, James, and I didn't really know this. I didn't really focus on this until you mentioned it at the last meeting. So at the time they're trying to set you and Margot up, Police Chief Ricky Ramie is wearing a wire for the FBI. Vickie Gainer, the people involved, she is a witness for the FBI to lying to them. I know because I saw it. And Ricky Ramie knew, Chief Ramie knew that you couldn't have done these things. Why?
I went home for lunch on October the 4th. And when I was walking out of the house, something popped in my head. And I said, man, and my wife said, what's the matter? And I said, I don't know. Something hit me pretty hard. I said, but I think I'm okay. And she said, well, you need to stay home. I said, no, I'm going back to work. So I left. And she was trying to call me, and she couldn't get up with me. So I drove from Lynn Haven down to the mall where Kohl's is, and I turned left in there, usually probably going to see Tommy Cato or something, but I got lost in there, and I didn't know I didn't know what was going on. So I pulled over in the ditch there, and I got stuck. And it was 1:15 on a Thursday. And I was racing the motor, and I didn't know how to get the truck in four-wheel drive. And so they thought I was drunk. The people did, so they called the law, and the law come. In the meantime, my wife's calling chief of police, calling Ramie, calling everybody, and everybody at the shop was out trying to find me. Well, when they called the law come down there, and they figured out I wasn't drunk, so they put me in the ambulance to take me to the hospital. In the meantime, Ricky Ramie come up there and got in the ambulance with me. I didn't know this for a year. After that, he got in the ambulance.
On October for a week before the hurricane.
Yes, and took me to the hospital, and they life-flighted me to Tallahassee. And then 6 months later, when they started investigating, I have Margot down there go tell the sheriff about all this. They start blaming a bunch of stuff on me. Ricky never stood up and said, wait a minute. James wasn't having no damn meetings. I was with him when they put him on a helicopter out of here. And they didn't think he was going to live when he left. But he wasn't running no show. But he never.
They all knew that. They all knew it.
They all knew that, but they didn't say that. And even when I was on trial over there about the $790,000 I loaned them, nobody from Lynn Haven stood up and said, wait a minute, we asked James to borrow that money.
Who benefited the most from that $790,000? That was the difference between what you said you could fix it for, and you said I could fix the whole 17th Street ditch at $5.2 million. Right. The engineers and the consultants say it's going to be $7.5 million, but damn it, I can do it at 5.2. You ended up doing it at 4.4, and they wanted the difference.
Well, see, at 4.4, the reason it come in at 4.4 was Joel Schubert, the city manager, had got the DOT and got them to pay for a portion of the ditch.
And for the record, he did a good job on this. When it came to the 17th Street ditch, he was on the right side.
Yes. Hey, Joel Schubert went over there. He come over there to testify, and I said, I knew that Joel Schubert would tell the truth. Me and him wasn't all that bigger buddies or whatever. The FBI said that in the city and all of them said that I got Joel over to my office and tried to give him more money to stay with Lynn Haven. Like I was running Lynn Haven. I was going to say, I'm going to give you more money. Well, I asked him if he was quitting. He was going to work with the county. And I said, Joel, if you'll stay in Lynn Haven, is the money your problem? He says, no, the money's not really my problem. I said, well, if you money, I said, I will go and advocate more money for you because I'd like for you to stay because I think you're doing a damn good job.
Which is legal to do.
Yes.
There's no crime in that.
Anyway, he says, James, it's not the money. He says, I'm a better fit at the county, but I've been with the state and my retirement will be better if I go to work down at the county. I said, well, Joel, I won't bother you no more with it, buddy. So I knew, and they said I was trying to bribe him. So Joel wouldn't hardly talk to me. And also we go over there and they said, well, Joel Schubert's coming to testify. I said, I don't have a problem with Joel Schubert. I said, he's going to tell the truth. You know what I'm talking about? And he did exactly that. He just sat there and just told him the way it was.
In other words, he was the prosecutor's witness. The prosecutors thought he was going to have to, tell the truth, that you tried to bribe him too. And Joel Schubert said everything he said helped you.
Yes. He said, James says, hey, if there's more money, I'll go advocate some money for you. I'd like for you to stay.
Yeah.
And that's what I told them. I said, look what we got. We got Michael White.
Yeah.
Joel did a good job, and Joel saved the $800,000.
And he made the city safer with you and him teaming up doing that. And then every single commissioner and the mayor voting unanimously for you to do it. Everybody benefited. But James, who benefited the most from the remaining $790,000 that they tacked on at the end?
Chris Forehand, he got the fees out of it. And then Vickie Gainer got the drainage did around the house she was buying or the lot she was buying.
Little inside info she got.
Yeah. Hey, Vickie Gainer, Michael White, and Chris Forehand was advocating the deal. Chris for the fees, Michael for Vickie. And so they got everything fixed over there. But what really made me mad was they wouldn't tell the damn truth. I was on trial. They was trying to put me in prison for something they wanted me to do. And they took it to the commission, and the commission passed it. Vickie was head of the commission. She was the manager there. She knew I didn't steal the damn money or bribe nobody. But she sat there. But when I called her out, her fangs run out, and she got that job. There's no way she could get it with a resume. She's not qualified to do the job. The biggest management she's ever done was a household budget. She's running $30-40 million up there now, and she don't have the ability or the expertise to do the job. She wound up with the job.
Yeah.
Michael White wasn't qualified either. He didn't last long. Last time I seen him was in chains.
Yeah, testifying against you as their only witness. It was unbelievable. James, when we get back from this break, I want to ask you, we'll wrap it up. Where do we go from here? What are the biggest challenges in Lynn Haven? Because people are saying, James, how do we fix them? And we're going to ask you these questions right after this. Get a paid subscription at bernie.substack.com, and now you will get behind-the-scene videos emailed to your inbox, and you're liable to see just about anything. Whoa! Get out! Don't get out, keep that. What's going on? So I've got less than 2 days to get it all together. I'm nervous because I've never done anything like this before. Nighttime and hot. Another red light. Yellow flies. Okay, he's dead.
Since my counsel thing.
Yes, that's what they are. They're like the great whites of the insect world.
Right on my arm.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
All right, James, here we are. And if I've missed anything, I'll spend another hour with you. We could do it tomorrow anytime you want to, but I just want to hear your thoughts. People want to know where we go from here.
Well, you asked me about the wire when he tried to wear the wire against me.
Ricky Ramie, Chief Ramie was wearing a wire and they tried to catch you and Margot committing crimes.
Yes. So the city asked me to sit down with Vickie and Ricky to try and save some money on the police department stuff. So I did. And I told them, don't need no $400,000 kitchen. It's the damnedest thing I ever seen. It's just that's crazy.
And they got it. They ended up getting it.
So anyway, right off, Ricky was trying to tell me that, the sheriff's department, they were out of room in no time down there, and it was 20,000 feet and the whole deal. I said, well, before the hurricane, you had 3,500 feet. I'm proposing 12,000 feet in one building, and then I'm 12,000 feet in an additional building over there for the EOC on the property behind Walgreens. And I said, we could propose this, a design bill. You can buy the land, get somebody else to build it, whatever you want to do. But I was just talking to him. And so it wasn't going too good because I seen right then, if I just let Ricky have his way and build him a bigger deal than Tommy's got down there and do all that stuff, that's what I needed to do. But I didn't feel like the city needed to do that, and I wasn't going to have any part of it. So then I get a batch of evidence in, and so I'm listening to some of the tapes and all from the evidence that they have to send me. Remember when the judge gave me the evidence? So
they tried to keep it from you, but you figured it out, and the judge said, hey, you got to turn over anything that might show James didn't do it.
That's right. So anyway, I hear Ricky on this audio saying, Larry, can you hear me? That's Larry Borghini was the FBI.
A special agent leading this thing up.
He says, I'm in front of Phoenix and I'm going into a meeting. So then I hear him come in, and my daughter's at the front desk, so I hear him talking to her. And then they come back in here and we go through the meeting. And also when I got that, I went to the commission meeting and I said, listen, I don't want nothing to do with y'all's deal. The design bill, I ain't interested. I'm withdrawing. Y'all go ahead and do it. That's the best concept you can do, but I'm withdrawing. I don't want nothing to do with it. Because they were trying to set me up. Because, Borghini, the FBI, was telling Vickie that she needed to keep an eye on me and a journal. Judy Tendery told Judy the same thing, and Judy said, what's the matter with the FBI? And so, anyway.
James, just so I can make sure everybody's following this, the city was determined to spend a boatload of money for a Taj Mahal of a city hall that looks like a bland motel.
The Alamo.
And they wanted, and they wanted a $400,000 and some kitchen. Chief Ramie wanted a palatial office on the second floor, all of which they ended up getting, by the way. And so the FBI wired him and said, hey, you guys go in there and talk to Margot and James, and you wear these wires and catch them trying to steal from the city. And all they caught you and Margot doing was calling them crazy for spending so much damn money, and that you could do it at a more reasonable price.
Well, you remember I told you that the FBI went to Vickie and said she need to keep a journal on me, right?
Yeah.
She tells Ricky about it. Ricky said, let me show you how to do that. So he sucked up to her because his new best friend had just went to jail, Michael White. Mm-hmm. Now she's the new city manager, and he sucked up to her like a sick cat to a hot brick. I mean, he's all over, and he's still there. So in between that, I go up there and I said, worst thing that's happened up here in Lynn Haven is Ricky Ramie. I said, he has got this whole city fractured for what all he's done. He went before the city commission. He lied to him eyeball to eyeball. He calls the sitting commissioner a CUNT in the most vulgar way he could. I mean, he did that They know he did that, and Vickie didn't do nothing about it. She hires him a lawyer. She has protected him because they're complicit in this deal. And so
all of the fixed tickets,
hey, fixing tickets
to your wife,
setting people up, false arrests, everything. And then he goes out there and he's got a medical condition. I've had those out there at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've had them a bunch of times, you know? And so, but he hits a car in the parking lot. So he goes, makes a deal, he gets a $350 fine. And I said, listen, it's not about him backing into the guy's car. He needs to fix that. It's about his integrity as a police chief.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Vickie didn't know what integrity was. She thought it was a ring or a watch or something, you know? And so it has no integrity. They had 680 votes, and 12 of them wanted to keep Ricky, and 650 or 60 wanted to get rid of him. It's fractured. They've been up there for 8 months, commission meeting after commission meeting after commission meeting. The last one I went up there, you were there.
Yeah.
I got up there, you got to sign in because you only get 3 minutes. Well, I signed in to talk, and then I knew that it was not bid item, but it was item number 12 on the agenda. So everybody says, I want to defer to item 12, the Ricky Ramie deal. Well, I talked because I knew if they didn't get a second, all those people were going to be sitting on their ass back there for an hour and not get to say nothing. And that's exactly what happened. All those people sat there, and that commission rigged that up knowing they wasn't going to have a second. And that's exactly what happened. So they walked out. Nobody got to say anything. Well, I'm not going to argue with them anymore. Like I told him, I says, I've not said anything I won't say to y'all. I've wrote my name to every letter I've wrote y'all. And what I'm doing is I'm going to civil court. I've got a couple lawsuits, against Lynn Haven. And I told them that Vickie Gainer was putting the city in more liability than they need to be in. And they just look around, sitting on their thumb. They have done nothing. They looked at the citizens out there like, who the hell are y'all?
Yeah.
I mean, every one of those commissioners except for
Jamie Warwick.
Jamie Warwick come up there. The mayor, if y'all will look at the city commission meeting on YouTube of 625, you'll see your mayor. He said he thought he was a handsome man.
Yeah.
I don't know where
did that come from?
I don't know where it come from. But anyway, he showed his ass and he showed who he is. And he is a cheap preacher is what he is. And you can get serious with some of them. I mean, he comes in here, but 625 is all you need to do is watch that. I won't say any more about that, but the civil case is going to show that the city of Lynn Haven has got some serious problems. And those commissioners are sitting there for 8 or 9 months, has not even said anything. They've not even asked anybody, do you know that to be true? Have you seen that? They've not said a word.
Yeah, Pat Perno has been a silent, nice guy, but completely absent on these issues. And to me, the one who's gotten the most upset and the worst has been Judy Vandergrift.
Yes.
She's gotten enraged when people ask questions. And you've got the young Sam Peebles asking questions, but he's just borderline lukewarm. He's not quite where he needs to be.
Well, he's drunk on coffee. He's like to have these coffee deals, these meetings, but he needs to drink something besides coffee. But I can tell you, they have done absolutely nothing. And then they said, well, Sam people said, well, what if we demote him or something? Hey, you can't kill the king. I mean, you can't wound the king. You got to get rid of him. You know what I'm saying? That's what he thinks he is up there.
James, do you think this is a house of cards that has to fall, or do you think they can continue this corruption forever?
It's got to fall. Let me tell you something. Vickie will fix herself, because when there's several $100,000 comes out from Lynn Haven, and I've been telling the city commission, you need to wake up. This lady is putting you, Ricky Ramie is putting you in a hell of a liability situation. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So you know what happened to O.J. Simpson, don't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where he got caught was in the civil lawsuit when the
That's
discovery
right.
came out.
Hey, that's what's going to happen up here.
I
It's
think
gonna
so.
happen there. They have not. There's 15 things that they should have fired Ramie about. They've hired him a lawyer a couple times. Now Vickie's going to have hire a lawyer for the whole city, because the whole city is fixing to have to pay some liability on what she's promoting.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to show you a 50-second clip, James, and I want to ask you. I want to ask you about this because I asked about it, this is something that Margot Anderson described when she went and blew the whistle on the corruption on April 1st of 2019. Let's watch real quick. It's 50 seconds. It's the most shocking thing I can imagine. And I want to ask you what the hell ever happened? Did anybody find the money? Let's watch this right here.
I gave this to the sheriff. I told him, I said, I am not accusing anyone of anything, but there are 6 checks written here for almost $5 million, and there are no invoices and there's no purchase orders, and they're large amounts, and they've not been approved as far as I know by anyone. Here it is. So at that moment, Ricky had a backpack by his feet, and oh, by the way, and he pulls it up and he said, I've got $30,000 in this backpack that Michael White asked me to hold for him. So I've never heard about the $30,000. Ricky's never mentioned it before, but suddenly, because I'm going to the sheriff, Ricky's got a backpack with $30,000 he wants to turn in.
What in the hell? I mean, I know you guys have talked about that in your defense and stuff, but the last time $30,000 in a backpack was seen was in Sheriff Ford's office with Chief Ramie on April Fool's Day of 2019. Where did the cash go? Why is nobody asking where the cash went?
I have no idea.
That's unbelievable.
Here's what's unbelievable. The $4.9 million, Jay Moody, they're having a meeting and Vickie Gainer's in it. They're in the meeting there and he says, do not pay any more of these bills. Michael White's wanting $1.2 million for his friend Mickey. Don't pay any more of these bills till you get the proper paperwork, because you're not going to get reimbursed. He gets up, leaves the meeting, goes, has a $1.2 million check processed in the next 30 minutes.
Michael White does. He disregards.
Michael White does. Vickie Gainer, none of them goes to the commissioner and say, hey, we got a runaway train here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
she ends up being the see, that's how I know this entire thing is malicious prosecution and corrupt, is she's the FBI witness. Are you kidding me? They love when she lies to them. This whole thing is corrupt from top to bottom.
Well, you know, her testimony was that Michael White was the best thing that ever happened to Lynn Haven.
I saw it.
You know what I mean? Just greatest guy. You know, they worked so hard, and the people of Lynn Haven should really appreciate what he's doing. And he's wiping a whole deal out. She's complicit.
She was on the witness stand telling Judge Walker that. And the next question was, do you know how much he stole from the city? And she said, yes.
Yes, 4.9 million.
She says he's the best thing that ever happened to the city. And then she told the judge he stole $5 million. And she continued with this. It was like Twilight Zone, man.
Yes, yes. And but anyway, I think the commission's not going to do anything. I told Pat Perno, I said, Pat, you're a good guy. I like you and all that. But let me tell you something. George Patton said a long time ago, you cannot be a leader without balls, man or woman.
Right.
I said, and you have none.
No, he's
And I said, are you going to second that motion tonight? He said, well, I don't know, you know, this and all that. And I said, because I called him before the meeting. I said, there's going to be a second. And I knew right off he wasn't going to second the deal. So they had it where they wasn't going to second the motion. I knew that before the meeting started.
Yeah. And you're talking about the last meeting when Jamie Warwick made a motion to, I believe, fire or censure Vickie Gainer, the city manager, and it died without a second. That's what you're talking about.
Yes. I mean, Vickie Gainer, Ricky tells her, look, I had a medical problem. I hit this car and all that. So, you know, I'm trying to get it all taken care of. You know, give me a few days or whatever. So 30 days later, you find out about it and put it on the screen. And that's how the commission found out about it.
If I hadn't published the video, the commission wouldn't have known about it.
Vickie was obligated to go say, hey, let me tell you what happened here.
Yeah.
Well, she had just hired him a lawyer. Now she's hiring him another one. But let me just happen here. You know, the chief had a medical problem about 3:34 in the morning out there at Newbies, you know, and run over a truck. And they say he went home and wouldn't come out of the house, you know, and stuff like that. But whatever it was, she didn't tell him for 30 days. And now she should have been run off for that.
She should have been fired for that. That's outrageous. Yeah, so I think it's a house of cards too. And I guess the only way that it does collapse is through discovery and lawsuits. And, you know, Sheriff Ford has about 15. Well, from my understanding, since he's been in office, he's had more than 50 lawsuits. And I believe he has more than 20 active lawsuits. And I think there are about 15 that are all related, including several whistleblowers inside the sheriff's office and many others. I just feel like discovery is going to be a shocking thing for people.
But the lawsuit, one that I have the most faith in, or, you know, a couple of them, is the one that Vickie Gainer and Chris Forehand changed the specifications and said I wasn't qualified to do the paving in Lynn Haven.
Yeah.
So I get my contract that they canceled 2 years ago, and I get it 2 weeks ago from a lawyer said, "Oh, we've canceled this contract." You know, 2 years later.
Yeah.
But give out. So I got my score on the $33 million project on 390th part from Lynn Haven through Jenks Avenue. I got a 100 score from the DOT on it. I got a 100 score on the second part and the other part. So I have all A pluses on the job with the DOT. And she's not qualified.
And just so the audience knows, the city contracted engineer, Chris Forehand, who's been running things in the city for a long time, and he's got federal immunity for committing a crime, James, that they wouldn't tell you what it was. And Vickie Gainer, the city manager, they conspired to come up with a new resolution that said the only person not qualified to make these bids is James Finch. Yes. And James Finch is, everybody knows, the most qualified, pre-qualified from DOT contractor in the whole area.
Yeah.
They all know that was a fraudulent thing to do. And that's why you're suing them.
But she did. That's right. She did it. I was low bid on the job, and I was $297,000 low on about a $3 million project. And they said, "Oh, that's too much." So I said, "Well, it's a unit price contract. You know, take some roads out or whatever you want to." So, "Well, we'll get back with you. We're going to do away with these bids and rebid it." So they changed the specifications, so I couldn't get the bid documents because I wasn't qualified to do the work. So I can't get the bid documents. So George Roberts, a friend of mine, he said, "James, what's going on up there?" And I said, "Hey, bid the job, George. I'm not going to be able to. They've got me off the list." So he bids the job, and they've reduced the job by 5 roads, taking out 5 roads. So I was $290-something thousand low. He comes in $320-something thousand higher on less work, and they award him the job. So he comes, rents my equipment to go do it. The reclaimer and all. You know, I bought a reclaimer to do the job. But so anyway, they've got some serious problems. And so I'm going to quit bothering them there. I'm going to court. They got 3 minutes. You go up there to talk to them. They got 3 minutes. They going to be sitting under a subpoena doing this, and it's going to be more than 3 minutes.
Well, I am excited to find out what discovery brings, because I'm at a loss for words. I mean, it's been years and years and years and no accountability, and everybody knows who's committing the crimes. And Sheriff Ford and the FDLE and the FBI and the Justice Department and Homeland Security, nobody's doing an effing thing about it. At least they haven't yet.
Well, here's my prediction. This is going to cost Lynn Haven several $100,000. And every bit of it is going to be Vickie leading this commission, and each one of them is going to be liable for it.
Well, I hope there's some liability, personal liability. I hope that qualified immunity, that they've lost that because of what they've done was so egregious.
Hey, I learned me something in this trial deal. We subpoenaed the FBI to come testify. he brought more lawyers than I had, and I was one charged.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was incredible to watch too. I was in there. I was in that courtroom. Well, James, what do you think? Should we wrap it up and continue another time?
No, I think this is pretty much it. Like I say, the civil stuff should get started real soon, and you know, they better be getting some more immunity letters.
Well, I appreciate your time, James, as always, and the story is going to continue as far as I'm concerned because I've still got a few questions. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All righty, James Finch. Wow. Imagine spending that much time speaking with Mayor Anderson. And I sure would like to talk to Antonius Barnes at some point and get to know him. I watched what he did and what he said in the courtroom, and it was remarkable. It was remarkable. James Finch said that all he had to do was say that Finch did it, and he was off the hook, basically. But he decided, Antonius Barnes, Commissioner Barnes, that he'd rather go to prison than lie. I've never seen anyone with more integrity and conviction than Antonius Barnes in that courtroom. Because as James Finch said, the prosecutors would have kissed his ass woodpecker style. If he would have just said what they wanted him to say, they could have put James Finch in prison for doing nothing but helping the city of Lynn Haven. And I want to thank the Unknown Patriot. Thank you, as always, for your sponsorship, and for those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar at Patreon, which allows me to do this, patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's anonymous, it's easy, and you can quit it anytime. I will see you soon. There we go. Come on. Hey, my button's not working.